I'm going to give you the most nerdy answer. My uncle read the books and knew what Lord of the Rings was in 2001 when Fellowship dropped. And I had no idea what any of it was. And he was like, nobody else will go with me, but I know you like all this fantasy stuff because we played World of Warcraft together. And he took me to the movies. And that's how I was introduced to Lord of the Rings and Tolkien. That's it. I've only seen the movies. I still to this day, I own them. I still to this day have not read the books. I tried. When the movies came out, I was like, oh, I want to read these books. These are going to be so good. And I just, the way he writes and speaks, my cute little 12-year-old mind was like, I don't know what any of this means. So I would like to get back into the books. But the movies, we went to the opening weekend for the trilogy, the original trilogy, Fellowship, Two Towers, and Return of the King. And we saw all of them in theaters. And that was how I got introduced to it. Ooh. I think about what about Tolkien it is and there's not been really any writers that have done this. Maybe George R.R. Martin to a point, J.K. Rowling to a point, but he created like an entire world and it's very believable. And it right down to creating a completely different language. Like you can actually learn Elvish, which was really cool back in the day. You get buy like the CD-ROM and you can learn it. Like it's a complete language. And he has this lore about, these creatures came here, and he came up with this great, amazing background to go with his stories that you could spend years learning. And on top of that, it's very not so subtle, but subtle if you aren't looking for it. It's a religious story. Like it's all about the good of mankind and blatant black and white good versus evil and men being men and women being women. And it's just, I don't know. The characters are so lovable. I watched the first three recently, rewatched because it's been quite a long time, and it just they age well. And as you grow up, you resonate with different people. Like when I was younger, I really loved Éowyn because she was like a strong woman and blah 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 and like all this stuff. And then now that I'm older, it's Arwen that I look up to more because she's strong and feminine in different ways than Éowyn was. Éowyn is more in your face strong women, whereas Arwen is the backbone that gets Aragorn through everything. Like it's so good. And I like fantasy in general, so that, I mean, automatically I was like, oh yeah, I want to see these. I love fantasy movies. And then there's always something that sticks with you no matter when you watch them or read them. For some people, whatever age you're at, there's something that sticks with you, and then the lesson that you learn, they don't stop teaching you things. And I think that that's really brilliant. Like it's something that we're all going to be dead and buried thousands of years from now, and somebody's going to dig up, whoever's left is going to dig up, an old copy of the Lord of the Rings and be like, oh my God, I've heard about these ancient texts, kind of thing. And it's just so brilliant. Tolkien was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I just love him. That's a really hard one. My favorite is Arwen, but probably Sam. I think Sam is underrated, and a lot of people overlook him because it's Aragorn, and I want to be the sword, and Legolas is cool with his bow and whatever. But I think Sam, especially as I rewatched it just a month or so ago, I rewatched them, and just Sam is just, he doesn't give up, and everything is just literally the world is on fire around him, and he's like, it's fine, we're gonna have some potatoes and some bread and we'll be okay. Like, take a breath, it's gonna be all right. And he sticks by Frodo, even when Frodo is a complete and total butthead, which we've all been there with our friends and family. He doesn't give up. He keeps that hope. The world just beats down around him and beats him and Frodo down at every turn. And he just doesn't give up, and he keeps he's very positive throughout the whole movie. And I think if Frodo couldn't carry the ring, I think Sam probably would have been perfect choice if something had happened to Frodo, because he just is a kind, good soul. He, gives the benefit of the doubt, even though he doesn't want to, because his friend Frodo is like, no, we're going to trust Gollum. It's going to be okay. And he's like, okay, fine. I trust you. You're my friend. I'll follow you to the ends of the earth and kind of thing. And I just really especially now that I'm older, watched, and Sam really stuck out to me. I was like, I didn't really think about him when you first watched these movies, or just sword fights and cool people and all that stuff. But Sam is the backbone of the entire story, I think, in my opinion. He's the one. Without him, everybody would have failed. It would have been a failed story. And he's just so good. And he just sits there and he talks about Rosie, and he talks about the Shire to kind of keep Frodo on track. And it's going to be okay. Like, we're going to make it. I can carry you and it'll be all right. Like, we got this. We're almost there. And you're just like, man, if we had more people in the world like that just support unconditionally and love your friends and family unconditionally like that, like, this world would be so good. I just love Sam. He's probably he's the most important character, I think, because without him, none of this would have worked. If Frodo had gone by himself like he tried to do, none of it would have worked. Everybody would have died. And evil would have won. And it's just, I think it's important to know that those people, how silly it may seem, you're always so positive, like the world is terrible. And even modern day, those of us who tend to have a more positive outlook, like we're constantly being told, oh my God, can't you see the reality of the situation? Well, yeah, I see the reality of the situation, but I'm not going to let it run my life. I'm going to choose to be like, you know what? I am going to take Frodo to this mountain, and this is how we're going to do it, and it's going to be fine, and it's all going to work out, and it all works out. And that's, Sam's faith is I love it. He's the most important one. There should be statues of Sam somewhere. Literally everywhere. I don't know. I just love him. I have not seen or listened to the radio version, so I don't know about that. I think we watched, like, way back then. I haven't seen it though since I was a kid. I think we watched the animated Hobbit a bazillion years ago in school. I was like, I'm a Friday and my teacher doesn't feel like teaching. Let's put on this, classical thing and we'll pretend we're in English class sort of situation, but I don't remember any of it. I think from what I've heard from people like yourself and Alasia and Max and Johnny and all these people who know the lore from, they can quote anything, and they know, you ask them, what's that rock? And they're like, well, that rock dates back to this and this and this, that kind of thing. Those guys, I think the most accurate so far has honestly been Jackson's films, and especially the extended editions. But they, even going back when they first came out, and I remember there were fans of the books at that point that were like, we really have nothing to complain about, like, other than the Arwen situation where she rescues Frodo and does the whole with the water thing, and instead of the other elf whose name I can never remember. That was really the only complaint anybody had, but everybody was kind of like, yeah, we get it. Introducing this character we don't see again doesn't really make any sense. So Arwen, that's cool, it's fine. There was really no complaining. There was no, what the heck is that? That's not Tolkien. There was no, well, this doesn't make it. There was none of it. Whereas now, The Hobbit got a lot. And of course now, Rings of Power is coming out. Everybody's just coming out of the woodwork like, that's wrong. This doesn't make any sense. That's not what happened. You're incorrect. Blah, 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 blah. But the Lord of the Rings, the original movies, where I was in chat rooms and I never heard the amount of calling out the wrongness and being like, well, that doesn't work. And like that. Yeah. The original 3 movies, I think, are probably the most accurate with Peter Jackson's trilogy. They're so good. And you could tell the love he put in it too. Watch the behind the scenes stuff, people. It's amazing. It's my favorite. Gosh, I don't know. I think it's in name only. Probably in name only would be my first, like, Tolkien's Rings of Power. In name only. That would be my reaction. And I wouldn't know that. I mean, I think I might know that, to a point, because as a normie, again, I don't know as much of the lore as everybody else, but even a normie such as myself, can see that, like, this is not the same. It doesn't look the same. It doesn't feel the same. They don't sound the same when they speak. If I hear somebody say Mordor one more time, I'm gonna lose it. I'm like, can you guys chill? I don't know what this R rolling thing is going on at this point in time, but y'all need to chill out. It just doesn't. It's so cheesy. I don't know. Just watching it, when you watch the two side by side, it doesn't feel like it. It feels like a sellout. And not that Tolkien sold out, because obviously he's been dead a long time, but it's in name only. I think it's like a brand almost. Like you brand your cows, even if that one, you're going to eat that one for dinner, you still want to brand it so that everybody knows it's yours. I think that's what Amazon is kind of doing. They're just like, let me brand this as Tolkien so that we can say, see, It is though. It is Tolkien's, because it's got his name on it, right? Kind of like Disney Star Wars, George Lucas Lucasfilm in name only sort of thing. I get that same vibe is what I get from it. It's disappointing and it's sad. And I think if he were alive today, he would walk right into that studio and whack everybody over the head with a rubber mallet. Stop this nonsense, because it's nonsense and it's not Tolkien. No.